Mid-Ohio, a legendary track, host of some of the greatest sports car races and teams in history, has been quiet for months. Winter has kept the race cars in their garages. But April has come and winter has gone. As the track thaws, the familiar sound of engines returns to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Spring marks the start of the 2018 GRIDLIFE season. As usual, drivers will be separated into 4 classes. Each episode this season will focus on 2 of these classes. Street class is the ultra-competitive home of cars with very few modifications. These cars are limited to more narrow, less sticky tires, intact interiors, and less power. These restrictions create an even playing field for competitors to wage war. Jackie Ding, a Chinese driver who made a splash in the street class last season with a 3rd place finish in his nearly stock Honda S2000, is back with a fire in his eyes.
My name is Jackie Ding. I'm running in street rear-wheel drive with my Honda S2000 this year. So we're at Mid-Ohio, which is one of my first personal favorite tracks. It's so awesome. There's so much elevation change, and the flow is just amazing. I love this place.
What are you wearing?
Pokemon onesies, because our team manager has specified that we must wear this as our team uniform. It's unfortunate, yeah. As far as goals go, you always want to set it as high as you can, and for me, this weekend specifically, I have to win. It's one of the tracks I know I can win. I've had experience here, I know this car here, it's the perfect combination. Nobody can beat me if the conditions go right.
Jackie will be looking to unseat street class's reigning champion, Charlie Miller, and fend off Eric DEWITT, who narrowly missed the podium last season.
My name is Eric DEWITT. Everybody calls me Dewey. I'm in street class, formerly known as HPD Plus. Thank God they changed that name. I drive an 05 Subaru WRX STI. This is the same car I was driving last year, which was my fiance, now wife's car, that we have now decided to just turn into a race car because I crashed it into a wall last year and gave it boo-boos. In street, you're very limited on your modifications. In my situation, I'm an all-wheel drive car, so I'm limited to a 255 width tire. It has to be 200 tread wear. You're not allowed any more than 20% boost over stock. You have to keep all your interior. You're not allowed any aftermarket aero modifications whatsoever. It keeps the class very tight, very limited. You have to get very creative with the modifications you're doing to your vehicle.
It's what I would call stock-ish. On the front we have a CR replica lip, and for the suspension we have Reinhardt R1 coilovers, which are really good to the off-season. We tested them and it was really great.
This is making a hair over 300, we think. I never have time to put it on a dyno. Maybe before Gingerman, but we tuned the thing literally on the road an hour ago.
For tires, we have the Yokohama Adavan AO52s, one of the newest tires out there this year, and it was really, really great. Better than the 71Rs, I'd say.
Our class is fantastic. It's extraordinarily accessible, and it really comes down to a driver's class. How good are you at driving your vehicle?
Meanwhile, on the other end of the spectrum is the unlimited class. While street class is geared towards cars with as few modifications as possible, in unlimited, anything goes. Some of these cars will be making upwards of 1,000 horsepower while weighing as little as possible. This is the only class to allow slick tires, which will provide the massive grip these race cars will need.
Hi, my name is James Houghton. I drive the K-tuned Acura Integra Type R in unlimited front wheel drive. We are here at round 1 of the 2018 GRIDLIFE Track Battle Championship. Last season we came away with the Unlimited Class Championship for the GRIDLIFE Track Battle Series, and we'll be doing our best to try to defend that title again this year.
James, who took the Unlimited Class win last year, has been busy during the off-season. His Integra is wider and more aerodynamic than last year, and running on a fresh tune.
It's a K24 motor, Jackson Racing supercharger, fully built motor, made 588 horsepower to the wheels less than 12 hours ago. Eric Levine Motorsports did the full cage on it, tied into the strut towers, extreme amount of weight reduction. The car weighs under 2,200 pounds. We run 285 Pirelli DS slicks in the front. Pretty extreme aero package. We wanted to freshen the car up with a new look. and slightly more aerodynamic front end. So we went with this wide body nose, which should help streamline things, maybe make a little bit more downforce, and then just look a lot nicer and a lot cleaner than what we had last year as well. So we're excited about that. It's pretty cool how far it's come, considering this was my daily driver in 2009, and we've just gone a little crazier and a little crazier each year. And then we ended up with this, which is kind of funny.
With the kinks of the 2017 season worked out, James is primed to go. Somehow, even faster this year. But front-wheel drive unlimited isn't a class of one. Will Young, fresh off of setting the all-time record at Button Willow in his A car, a 2012 Honda Civic, is here this weekend in his B car, a more conservative but still blistering fast Acura RSX.
I'm William Young. I'm here with the Vibrant Performance PZ Tuning RSX. We're here at GRIDLIFE Trackbattle Round 1 at Mid-Ohio. This is the OG car, and it really was the goal of ours just to make sure that it was together and hopefully bring it here. Aero, all designed in-house other than the APR wing, the front splitter. The flat bottom and the diffuser is actually very OG on that one. That one's actually, I made that back in 2014. So by today's standards, it's way outdated. It's a brand new manifold, turbo, new engine in this car. The block is a K20A2. This one actually stepped up from a BorgWarner EFR 7670 last year, and this year we actually put in a big 9174. Maybe a little too much for this particular car, but I love building, and just seeing how far we can take it is pretty cool. And yeah, I'd love to tell you the dyno of it, but unfortunately it's not been on the dyno yet. We literally spent the week just getting it prepped up so we can bring it to Trackbattle here.
A typical GRIDLIFE weekend would see 2 days of competition, Saturday and Sunday, but this weekend, there's a twist.
We got rain in the forecast. It looks like we might have one dry session this morning, and then it looks like it could be wet the entire 2 days. We came with wets, we put our dry tires on, and we're gonna be looking to set as fast a time as we can in the first session.
Weather's looking a little bit wet, well, a little wetter than what I would have liked. I got my dry tires on, but the rain is gonna throw up a really big curveball, especially for everybody in the rear-wheel drive. All-wheel drive guys might get an advantage, but we're here to try to hang it out. So, got my Senna livery on, give me some, brush off some of that magic, but hoping that's gonna help us out.
The pressure is on for drivers. Their best chance at going fast and taking the win for the weekend will be in the first and likely only dry session of the weekend. But for many of these drivers, this might also be their first session of the year. Cars will be unproven and drivers will be rusty. And yet, it might all come down to this first sprint.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting because, mid-season, if we had to put it all out on the first lap, that's one thing. We've been running it all the time. We've kind of figured out all the quirks and stuff like that. Now we got first event of the year, first day of the year, and we're gonna try to set a fast lap in the first session. So hopefully everything goes smoothly, but I think that's gonna be the one for probably the 2 days.
The first heat of the morning is released. James Houghton and Will Young, some of the fastest competitors here, both start near the front of the pack. Further back in his lightly modified Subaru STI, Dewey works his way through the field. Everybody knows that holding back may very well mean defeat. This is not the time for caution. The off-season improvements to James's car seems to have paid off. In his first session back on track this year, James manages a 1:28.9, less than 3 seconds off his overall best from last year.
I think I was just being a bitch. Eric last year said, he just saw a flash of brake lights into turn 1. He's like, you were like legitimate brake zone there. We went 1:28.9. Last year we went 1:26.1. Car has a lot of improvements since then. We should have probably gone quite a bit faster than that. I think the lap time that we did in the first session there put us fastest overall for the day. So pretty excited about that.
James is disappointed he didn't improve, but with Will a second and a half behind, James's time should be enough for the win this weekend, assuming the rain comes on schedule. Meanwhile, in street class, Eric DeWitt has finished his first session with a low 1:42, not quite as quick as he'd hoped to go. He'll have to wait for the next heat to see how his time stacks up against reigning champ Charlie Miller and former Formula Car driver Jackie Ding. Heat 2 releases as Charlie and Jackie storm the track. These early sessions are usually warm-up sessions for the drivers, but our street class competitors know that this heat will likely determine their placement for the rest of the weekend. Charlie blasts across the start finish with a 1:41.1, squeaking by Dewey's best to unseat him as the street class frontrunner. But Charlie himself will have to settle for second. Jackie Ding, with a Senna-inspired livery, clinches first place and the street class Mid-Ohio record with a 1:39 flat, over 2 seconds quicker than Charlie and Dewey.
The first session out, the car was on really good tires, everything was perfect. I banged out the lap that I really needed to. I think clear by the rest of the field by about 2 seconds, which is a gap I've never really enjoyed ever in time attack. So that's really surprising. But you know, considering I said some good things, but yes, this is what I expected and this is what happened. So I'm pretty happy.
Jackie had some clean track, and there's no denying Jackie's probably the best at getting the most out of his vehicle in our class. He's the most underpowered, but he has by far the most driving experience out of all of us. Him being a former Formula driver, he is incredible.
Unfortunately for everyone but James and Jackie, the rain comes right on time. The track is soaked, and in racing, it's virtually impossible to go faster in the wet than in the dry. Any hopes Will All Young, Charlie Miller, or Dewey DeWitt had of an upset have been washed away. But that doesn't mean the competition is over for the weekend. These guys are racers, and their urge to compete won't be doused by a little water.
We weren't sure if we were going to get any dry sessions at all, so we brought rains with us. So then we thought, you know, it'd be cool to see what the aero was doing in the wet and stuff like that. And it turns out the car shot some pretty cool rooster tails, and it looks like the aero is probably working fairly well, which we kind of had an idea of that anyways. But it was just fun to drive for fun.
Being able to get laps at any track is beneficial to any racing driver. I don't care who you are, you're always going to benefit. That's why F1 drivers still go on test all the time. Well, there's always new things to learn, and there's always new things to learn both as a driver and as a builder or a tuner, or you know, just setting up the car. Today was a great example of gathering experience. You know, from the very first session where it was actually dry out, we actually set our personal best in the RSX this morning. And this is the first time I've really driven one of these high horsepower time attack cars in the rain. So it was quite a learning experience. Learned some valuable track lessons, where not to push, where to push.
Though times are much slower in the wet, there are now new records to set, wet ones.
Chris said that we're thinking of keeping track of wet track records. And then I was like, well, that one session that was just for fun was fun. Let's get back to competition. It's funny, from like first session of let's just drive for fun to like, okay, it's game time. The conditions were fairly similar, and I went 10 seconds faster. I wouldn't have said that there was 10 seconds out there, but it was like, okay, it's go time. We're gonna keep track of this. And it's like, somehow I found 10 seconds out there. So that was super, super fun.
James and Will go out and set times not even a second apart. The next heat, they'll both go even faster. James will put down a stunning 2-minute flat in the wet, with Will and his B car close behind at 2:09. James will take the unlimited win for the weekend, as well as the newly established wet record for GRIDLIFE at Mid-Ohio.
The situation as we close out today is Jackie still got an extraordinarily good lap in earlier today, and there just wasn't a dry time to go after him. I went like hell trying to catch him in the wet.
Driving the wet was pretty sketchy because Mid-Ohio is a very tricky place. There's a lot of sealers on the ground, and the grip is just unpredictable a lot of times. But if you know the very special rain line, it should be fine, because you just need to be on where you don't want to be at usually. So yeah.
The first time I've ever driven on the track hard in the rain was here. So I've learned a lot from here. Now I understand the rain line a lot better. So I have a feeling if we have some serious wet sessions, I've got the car figured out a little more, I'm gonna be able to take it to him.
Dewey, shut the f up. I'm on an interview.
My bad. My bad. Nobody likes you. Hey, no. Hey, the real MVP.
Anyways, as I was saying, I don't think Dewey has a chance tomorrow, even if it's icing and slating.
I got something for you. Watch the whole interview. Watch it.
As day one comes to a close, things aren't looking any drier for tomorrow. Rain is the great equalizer. Already fast in the dry, Jackie is lightning quick in the wet. No stranger to rain at Mid-Ohio, the former Formula driver's car control comes into the spotlight on the damp track. Though his car is only two-wheel drive, Ding is able to put down times well faster than his all-wheel drive street class competitors. Charlie Miller, now hindered by his aggressive 200 treadwear tires, can't keep up in the rain, managing a best of 2:16 for the weekend. His one dry session tester morning, though, will at least keep him on the podium. Dewey, however, anticipating the rain, has brought a set of Michelin tires along to help even the playing field in the wet. Though they have less dry grip, these tires fare better in the rain than standard competition rubber, which is exactly what DeWitt will want if he's gonna catch Jackie.
Well, it's crummy. The weather's lovely Ohio grossness. I'm getting a little more track time to learn the rain line.
I've had a lot of experience here in the rain. I've done a lot of races here, all in the rain, and I had to learn the rain line.
In the rain, he's got me by about 10 seconds right now. I'm gonna throw on some better tires, and I'm gonna make an attempt to chase him down in the rain.
Jackie and Dewey go out, heat after heat. The younger driver is in his element, dancing with his car in the wet. Dewey can't touch him, but he's getting closer. DeWitt's fastest wet time yesterday was a 22.3. Today, he's going much faster.
I'm getting a lot better here in the rain. I'm not scared shitless of the rain like I was yesterday and most of today.
Conditions, surprisingly, even though it looks really wet, I really enjoy it because once you know the rain line, you know where to drive on. And once you know that part, doesn't matter if you're two-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, six-wheel drive, you can just drive it, so it's fine.
By the sixth session, Dewey has worked his way down to a 2:11, just 2 seconds off of Jackie's 2:09. Closer than they were even in the dry. There's just one session left for Dewey to establish his dominance in the wet, and for Jackie to hold on to his lead.
The situation is, Jackie taught me a line. I adjusted the car to maybe work with that line a little better. And we're gonna see if we can't find another 2 seconds. My last session out, I knocked off like 8.
Car's been handling pretty well. I haven't changed much. It's picking up the rain again, so that's not contributing to faster lap times. But we're going to just go and have fun, and I'll be all over his ass.
It is definitely make or break time. This is it. This is for all the bananas right now. All the cookies in the jar.
There's a sign that says don't send it. Are you going to send it?
Yeah, I don't read very well, so.
Is there any chance he's going to beat you?
What do you think? Seriously, he's going to beat me? No way. No way.
If the rest of the weekend was plagued by rain, the last heat sees a full-on downpour. As they trade spots on track, Jackie and Dewey are driving practically blind, going faster than they can see. With a few laps under their belt, things get hairiest on the back straight.
That was the wettest session I've ever had in my life, full stop. I had one moment where I was going right behind you on the back straight, 100 miles an hour. Windshield's full white because you're straight.
Yeah.
And I got loose. Blind!
Oh,
blind! Oh, moment! And you
we
can't
both
see.
did, because there was so much runoff there, we both hydroplaned the same spot. Jackie still got me by 2 seconds, but I honestly, I'm super happy with the results that I got down to a 2:10. I gapped SPAZ to no end.
Car was awesome. Not a single thing went wrong, and perfectly reliable. We did everything we set out to do. Go for Gingerman. I want to go sub 40. It might be really tough because the S2000 NA record on street tires is a 140 flat. Everywhere you go, you have to think about competition. Dewey especially claims he wants to get me for a second. We'll see. We'll see. I'll keep him company.
After a spectacularly wet weekend here at Mid-Ohio, Midwest Festival at Gingerman will hopefully give our competitors a chance to show down in the dry and see who's fastest once and for all.